Hey there, today I have an unboxing video. This is an order from State of Comics that just came in, and we're going to open it up and see what sort of incentives or store exclusives are inside. Stay tuned. All right, here we go. We're going to unbox this order from State of Comics. This came in a FedEx envelope. It is clearly marked reusable, but from the state of the packaging, probably not. But I'd rather the outside container be damaged and the inside not. So let's open this up and take a look. Okay, it looks like we've got a standard Gemini mailer on the inside. Put this stuff aside, and let's open this. And it looks like we've got about 4 or 5 books, very nicely and securely packaged with bubble wrap. It is open at the bottom, but they didn't slide around or come out, so I'm going to take the bubble wrap off. And I love it. There's no need to tape. It just sort of stayed together on its own. Very cool. Very nice bubble wrap that I will save and use in future shipments of my own. All right, so let's dive in here and take a look at what was in the shipment. All right, first up is Department of Truth number 10. This was an exclusive. Now, I believe that I did get notified by State of Comics that this was going to be delayed. So they did give me a heads up. So I placed this order quite a while ago and just received it this week. But really, really great House of Secrets homage cover. For store exclusives, I really wouldn't recommend buying them for speculation. It really has to be a cover buy, something again that you would display. And if I was building sort of a fall or Halloween themed assortment of books to display, I certainly would display this one. This one's really great and a store exclusive from State of Comics. It's Department of Truth number 10. And I'm going to go through these also and open up, and we'll take a look at the condition. The next one is a 1 in 25 Wynd number 1 Peach Momoko incentive variant. This is the Virgin variant. It's interesting. They've got this tagged as very fine. So we'll have to see and open that, see what that means. I don't believe I bought it knowing it was a VF copy. I assumed it was the typical 9.2 and above that most online stores talk about. But I picked this up earlier on when I was looking for the early issues of Wynd by James Tynion. And this was one that I saw that was for a decent price. Not many stores still had Wynd number 1, especially the Momoko variant for sale, and State of Comics happened to have one, so I picked it up. Next is Stray Dogs number 3. This was the one issue I was missing in the run. I have 1, 2, 4, and 5. So now I have issue 3 and I have a complete run. And this just happened to be available for cover price at the time that I was looking to pick up some additional Wynd, Department of Truth, Nice House on the Lake, some James Tynion books. I saw they had Stray Dogs on there and wanted to pick up just the standard regular cover A first print of issue number 3. And here is Nice House on the Lake. This is number 1. This is another store exclusive, and just big believer in anything that James Tynion is writing or doing. And Nice House on the Lake. I'm looking forward to reading this in trade, but certainly collecting the first and early issues. And a lot of times what happens is the cover A or even the cover B will sell out, and it will linger on as a store exclusive, and you can go back and pick those up. Typically, those are going to run you like 10, 15, even upwards of $25 for those. But if the cover A is spiking and shooting up fast and it's $20 or $25 on its own, the way that the market typically works is those books will go up in price. The store exclusives will not, and then eventually the store exclusives will catch up, and maybe even be double. So it's maybe not a fair price comparison, but if a $5 book jumps to $25, a $15 book might jump to at least 30, if not 40. So it will still gain some value there. So it's a good way to kind of go back and find those early cover A's and B's equivalents as a store exclusive. And another one that was just sort of lingering in their inventory that picked up some heat is Nightwing 81. I had a couple of issues, but wanted to grab one more. The Tom Taylor run of Nightwing, it has been exceptional, and wanted to grab another extra copy of this. I think I got one in high grade and one was damaged, so this is a third copy. And I want to go through and open these up in order and take a look and see what grade they got. So we'll do a little bit of a screening here, and I'm particularly interested in this Wynd #1 that was marked in very fine, because again, if that's how I ordered it, then I certainly missed it as part of the shopping experience on State of Comics. So I'll be on the lookout next time. But let's see for ourselves. So we'll start with Department of Truth #10, and this is that store exclusive. One thing to note is the cover price of 399 cents. The store exclusives do not sell for that much. So I was like, when the artist includes the price as part of the homage cover, when it's not entirely accurate. Now I'm having a little bit of trouble opening this, and I don't want to have any sort of tape pull. So let me fold this down first as I slide the book out. And let's see what we got. All right, so first glance, just moving the light back and forth in the cover, I don't see any dents or damage to the cover, which is great. At first feel and first glance, it does look like a 9.8 candidate. Any sort of dirt that you see, that's just part of the homage cover. This is a very clean copy, at least on the front. No issues there on the corner. Any of those markings you see, that is just the back cover wrapped around just slightly around the spine. Bottom corner looks good. Bottom looks really sharp, as does the outer edge here. So really, really great looking book on the top. On the back, I would say more or less the same. Very cool. Really nice to get this without any damages. So yeah, this looks to be exceptionally clean. So I'm going to go ahead and give that one a 9.8. All right, so let's go ahead and get this book entered into the system. I have this order already set up in my spreadsheet. This was an order placed with State of Comics back on June 18th. And I received this during the first week of October. They did notify me that the book that we just looked at, the Department of Truth #10 exclusive variant, was delayed. So it wasn't really necessarily their fault in particular. So I did get that heads up. So let me put this book into Go Collect and Cover Price. This is Department of Truth 10. And Go Collect typically does not have store exclusives in here. So I don't imagine, I don't see it in there. So we will just skip that. Cover Price, on the other hand, usually does. And yeah, this single issue of #10 had 54 variants. So yeah, you really gotta love that cover. And this Department of Truth typically does have great covers, but man, it's a lot. So we're just gonna scroll through here. They're typically done in alphabetical. I didn't get the Virgin here, that variant. Just got the standard with the trade dress. I liked it with the trade dress better because I think that added to the homage of the cover. And I'm going to assign this as a 9.8. And then I need to come back and also add it as where I purchased and the date that I purchased the book on. and the date that I placed the order, as well as where I ordered it from, along with the grade. That is what I'll have to add it as a new source. That is what tells me or classifies or creates the uniqueness around the specific book. So when I pull the book out of the bin, I can refer back to here and see where did I get it from, when did I purchase it, and what was the grade. So State of Comics was the location, and now State of Comics will be in cover price as a source I can pull from. So if I go back to my spreadsheet, I will note that it's not in Go Collect, it is in cover price, and my grade was a 9.0. Now the other thing I can do, you'll see here that row 5707 just updated out of the 5 books, 100% chance because I've graded 1 out of the 5. I'll go ahead and add the ledger stats here as well, and just move, I'll just sort these again, so I can just insert one above, and I'll just clone this whole record and just change the vendor to State of Comics, and we'll see that this order contained 5 books. I had graded one personally myself as a 9.8 with 100%. So hopefully the other 4 books are also 9.8, which is good for me and good for State of Comics, but we'll see where they end up in the rankings after these 5 books are graded. So that will also be interesting. So let me get this book go ahead in the bag and board. I'm tempted to put this one in a fullback just because it is a very nice and clean 9.8. And while it's not an incentive, to me, I almost need to like treat it like a 1 in 25. So I am going to treat this book to a fullback. I will mark 9.8. That back and forth, and then very carefully lift it off the desk. Try not to get any sweaty fingerprints on that nice stark colored cover. Let it slide back in, and great looking book now as a 9.8. So would I slab this book and hang it on the wall? Absolutely. I would even maybe display it somewhere as part of some home Halloween haunted house type of decoration as well. So really cool. All right, next up is Wynd number 1. Again, this was marked very fine, and I looked as well on the store order details, and within those details it also said very fine. So I am very, very curious to see why this one was marked very fine. I'm just kind of giving it a glance with the light. As you can see, as I shift the light back and forth, I don't see anything possibly right there though. Did you see that when I shifted the light this way? There's like a tiny little valley right there on the book itself. So it's hard to tell like where that's coming from. If it's going all the way through the book. It looks like it is right there. You can see, I think I caught it right there at the beginning. But anyway, there's a little bit of a dent in the book there, and I wonder if does it carry through from the back. And it doesn't look like it. The back spine looks pretty good. A little bit of a scratch there at the top, right there. A little bit of a, I mean, is it an 8? I don't think it's an 8. But it's definitely a candidate for pressing, just to kind of push this part out a little bit and smooth it out. I don't think this is very fine unless I'm missing something at the top there. I don't see, that looks pretty good. Colors look great. Very, very presentable. I just feel like I'm missing something if they're calling this very fine. There's something here. I'm trying to get this in the light as well. This one's going to be tough to show you, but essentially under this feather, you can kind of pick it up as I move it back and forth, maybe right there. There's some sort of line that's going across like a scratch of some sort, but I still think this was undergraded. Yeah, there's definitely some sort of, it's hard to pick up. I won't waste your time. There is some sort of scratch on the back that goes across. However, it doesn't go up and down. And again, thinking back to my experience with books that have a complete scratch, like I had with that Kanto number 2, where it was given a 9.0 with that scratch. So it definitely has some damage, for sure. But is it a 8.0? I don't believe so. I'm going to give it a 9.2. I think the press could take care of that issue and maybe boost it to a 9.4, but it's somewhere in that 9.92, 9.4 range. Not too disappointed. It's okay. It is a 1 in 25. It is a virgin cover. I think that a 9.2 and then indicating that it could be pressed, and I will just say dent on front cover. Oops, that was a little off camera. Sorry, I was just writing on the full back. I put that on there, dent on front cover, so that I can remember myself what the issue was. Why did I give it that 9.2? I believe that if that is pressed and cleaned up and make it as crispy as possible, it's probably max 9.4. But right now it's somewhere in that 9 to 9.4 range. And then the scratches on the back, that's probably not something that can be cleaned up, unfortunately. But I don't think this is not a very fine. I think that was undergraded. So there you go. There is that one. So 9.2. And this should be in Go Collect. It's not a store exclusive. It's just an incentive. So this one I got recently with the trade dress, and now I have the Momoko Virgin edition. So in this case, I have to add it to a list. This is Boom Studios. So I'll add it to that bin. Condition 9.2. And I do this so that I can see what the value of this book would be in a graded as a 9.2. So if I were to send it off to CGC as is, do I think it would get a 9.2? That's basically what I'm guessing or what I'm saying. And I'll have to State of Comics. It's a new place of purchase. Save it. And then do the same in cover price. Wynd number 1 has 10 variants, and so the Momoko Virgin 1 in 25, slightly down, but fair market value of $42.20. So not too bad, especially for what I paid. What's interesting here is and this is where is the cover price data completely accurate. So across the board, I have all 3 of these covers, the Momoko covers. And the trade dress version is $73.69, up over 12%. Is that correct? Did it pick up the correct recent sale, or was this one that sold for $75? I don't know. I think all these 3 covers are great. The fact that I have all 3, so I'm really not going to complain if one is more valuable than the other. But that was kind of interesting for cover price to list the one with trade as being the most valuable. All right, let me enter the details on this book. Purchased on June 18th from State of Comics. They should be in here now. And we'll go ahead and save that. Now I'll go back and update this one, 9.2. Okay. So there you go. So that's your very fine. I swear I didn't see that when I checked out, but it was an oversight on my part for sure. But I think there's a couple things there. There's certainly a happy medium where I took a pretty hard look at the book and arrived at a particular grade that I was happy with, that was above what they said. And then secondly, maybe State of Comics is very conservative with their grading to make sure that customers are happy, and that's something I'm going to make note of. If I ever see a VF listing on their books, I'll know that it could be a near minus actually instead of a VF. And if it is a VF, then they were honest about it up front, and you can't complain about that. Stray Dogs number 3. This is that cover A. Again, it has that sort of well that we just experienced with Wynd number 1. That's definitely a dent in the book where it kind of sits on the shelf and folds a little bit. We've also kind of seen that. The waviness in the pages, that's just due to the paper quality. I don't think you're going to get dinged on that. But speaking of dings, there is a second ding here. So now we're dealing with those two. So this is not a 9.8. The rest of the cover is extremely crisp and clean. The outer edge of the front cover, you can see there, is really nice. Same thing down there. The edge is great. Corner, really, really exceptional. Spine looks great except for those two dings. The back cover is dark. No issues there, as you can see, moving things back and forth in the light. Top corners look good. Bottom looks good. So this entire book looks really, really good. There is that waviness that, to me, that's a manufacturing thing. And I know some people, they want to press all of these out and get them complete. And I get that and appreciate that. But is it necessary to get the 9.8 if it's a manufacturing thing? I don't think so. It's just more of an obsessive thing, like to get it in as high a quality and high grade as possible from a personal perspective, maybe not from a professional grading perspective. However, the two dings on the side is something that we have to decide on. Now, if there's one, I'm dropping it to a 9.6, 9.4. Now, if there's two, we're in the 9.4, 9.2 range. So we just saw the Wynd copy that I gave a 9.2. I feel like with those scratches on the back of the book, those are somewhat permanent. I mean, that's just going to be a permanent defect of the book. This does have the ability to be pressed out. One of those folds, again, these are pretty deep, along with, you can see there, this one is color breaking just slightly. And this one is not, or if it is, it's hairline. It's extremely, extremely small. I just noticed another spine tick too. So it's not fair to compare those two books and say, well, if that got a 9.2, is this one in a better quality? I think we're dealing with two different issues. They both have that dent. And so that dent is going to, especially the one in the middle that's color breaking, that's going to drop it to a 9.4. I have a Department of Truth that is slabbed a 9.8, and it has that little bit of a welling dent, but there's no color break on it. So that's sort of allowable. So don't need to be too harsh, but again, we need to stay consistent. So I'm already thinking this is 9.2, but honestly, with the additional spine ticks, I'm leaning towards giving this a 9. I don't believe that this is in worse condition just from the feel of the book, but unfortunately, when you're getting into those spine ticks, that's where you have to kind of be honest with it. So I'm going to give this a 9 with the ability to press it up. Again, it may only max out at 9.4 or 9.6 because of the color breaks in the spine, but I'm going to give this one a 9 and then mark it as an indicator that it can be pressed. So I'm just going to get a standard bag and board for this one. And I never try and get too upset with the grades either. Like, if you want to argue that the Stray Dogs number 3 is an 8.5 or a 9.2, and I'm giving it a 9, I don't mind the discussion. I don't mind the debate on that. I think that's all part of it. It's part of the fun. But I have to be neutral on this. I can't worry about where I bought the book from. And the other reason maybe this justifies the 9, I just noticed right on the outer edge, there's just a slight roll or denting there that I kind of have to deal with as well. So I still feel comfortable giving this a 9. I think that 2 would come out in a press. So I still love the book. I'm happy I have it. And I'd really don't get too worked up either way if I score a 9.8 or if there's a book that I would love to have in a 9.8 that ends up being a 9 like this. I think that this could improve. I think a little humidity around here would clean that up real fast. And then a couple of spine ticks, and maybe it ends up being a 9.6 or a 9.4, and it's still a great high grade book. All right, let's get this tracked. Stray Dogs number 3. Stray Dogs just took off here in the summer of 2021. Excuse me, it became extremely popular. So at the time, I just started searching around just to see if I could find, and there were no Stray Dogs books anywhere, and just happened to find a random regular issue cover A of number 3 at State of Comics. So again, I'm giving that a 9. You know, it's funny, I have a Bronze Age X-Men that is a 9 that is hanging on the wall behind me. And I always look at that as kind of that sort of line between the 9.0s and above, and what kind of minimal condition it would have to be. And this Stray Dogs to me is in better shape than that X-Men book, but the issues on the book are very specific, and what I mean is there's only there's only a couple of those color breaking spine ticks in the spine. I think where that X-Men book got dinged is on the corners. The corners are very soft. So I'm trying to compare that book to this Stray Dogs book, and I would say they're comparable now because of the 2 dents and the 3 color breaking spine ticks that I just counted. I think it's pretty fair. On this one, though, the corners are extremely sharp. So CGC could forgive you and bump it to a 9.2. I'm not sure, but I'm comfortable with that 9.0. Okay, that one's added. So Stray Dogs now. Like I said, I've got a handful of 1s, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So now I have the full run. And we're talking about a $9.16 book. So really nothing too crazy. This is cool, number 2 and a 9.8. I may have to send that one in for grading. That's awesome. If that number is accurate, almost $72 for that number 2. Purchased June 18th from State of Comics. And back in here, Stray Dogs. Yes. So not the strongest of results so far. We have 2 books to go. We can see that 1 out of the 3 made the 9.8 cut. And the ones that didn't, 9.0 and 9.2, there's an argument to be made, hey, if you bought a very fine book, why are you counting it against it? And it's all relative. It's all equal. It's just a matter of, it's the grade that the book gets, not necessarily the grade that was expected, which I didn't expect to order a very fine copy. I probably wouldn't have bought it, to be honest. But do you assume that all of these books here are 9.2s because that's what they list, that they can only guarantee 9.2 and above? I just keep it simple, and so that's how I just assign the grade across the board and then average the grade there. So if you're buying a lot of low grade on eBay, then you're going to get a low grade average. All right, here's Nice House on the Lake number 1. I'm going to use my claw to kind of hold the book so that I don't get any fingerprints on this glossy cover. Going to try not to hold it for too long. The spine looks really good here. I don't see any issues. On these cardstock glossies, usually they're splitting on the corner, but that corner looks okay to me. Very acceptable. The bottom looks even better. So I think we're in good shape here. This feels like a 9.8 candidate right off the bat. Nothing up here on this side. Nothing on that edge. And I'm balancing this on my closed fist here. So I'm going to have to do a little switching. And I just don't want to get fingerprints on it. So I might eyeball this one up close. I don't see any problems on this one at all. So right before I sweat all over it, we'll give one last look. Again, that's that top corner. That's acceptable. No, sometimes you get those little like nicks as somebody's putting it in the bag and board. You don't on this one. It's really crispy. So this one is a 9/8. And I'm going to set it down before I do any damage to it myself. Now this one, again, will most likely not be in Go Collect. Nice House on the Lake 1. It's possible sometimes if a book is particularly interesting or desirable, they'll go back and add some, but like this one, the Wanted Comics edition shows up here, but others don't. I don't know why. I could guess, but it's not there. Nice House Lake 1. And this book had 24 variants. I have quite a few of these. All right, so this is the State of Comics. Nice value on this book already in a 9.8. May not be my favorite cover. I like this cover better. Same with this one. But like I said, once Nice House on the Lake cover A started getting wiped out, I wanted to grab some, and store exclusives were the only ones left. 6/18. If you notice too, I was very quick to grade that book. You just sort of know when it's a 9/8. There's just no questions asked. Like you just see it, you hold it in your hand, you give it a once over, and it's a 9/8 all day long. You know them when you see them. So that one's in there, and that's good for State of Comics. We've got this one helping out their overall average here of a 9.8. So now we've got 50% chance, and bumps their average to 9.45. So really good for them to get that. This one, again, I'm kind of looking at it as an incentive. So I'm going to give it the full back treatment here. And give it a 9.8. And I do that just for the amount of money that I paid, plus the fact that it's a 9.8. So if that one was a 9.4, I'd just put it in a standard BCW Silver Age bag and board. But in this case, as a series that is slowly becoming one of my favorites to collect, I want to preserve some of these, especially issue 1, appropriately. And I always love how the comic looks in that nice full back and Silver Age size bag. Okay, one more to go. And that is Nightwing 81. So this will be what makes or breaks the order, since it's a 50% chance right now to get a 9.8, and let's see how this turned out. Moving it back and forth in the light, I think it's going to suffer from a very similar problem, although the welling or denting isn't on the spine. Right there in the light by my thumb, you can see it goes right in and out there. So there's something about these books or how they store them. They're just not necessarily pristine. This one has a lot of different denting damage. I don't know how to describe it, but I'll try and move right there, right in there. You can see, and in here, as I move it back and forth, there's some weird denting or just something was carved out. It's like somebody's glasses were left on. I don't know. Also, I noticed up here, right there, there's like a pinhole dent. So that's not good. Everything else looks crispy though. So this is where the book is deceivingly disappointing, because if you just kind of hold it back like this, go, oh yeah, it looks like a 9.8. But then you start really digging in and using light to your advantage, and you see that pinhole dent. Definitely some softening at the corner. I would say that's not terrible, but when you kind of couple it with all of the other issues, and right there under the creator list, that's a problem. And then the spine splitting that's happening up and down, that's another one that's I would consider to be manufacturing related problem. But do you count it against the book? I don't like to send books with that spine splitting off to CGC. I'm just not comfortable with that risk. So I usually just go ahead and give it a 9.6 just on that alone, so that I don't even chance it at that point. So then you just kind of say, okay, if I'm going to give it a 9.6 because of spine splitting, now I'm going to work backwards. You probably are forgiven maybe for that one dent, but the fact that it has several, I just have to count them up, as that's probably pushing it to a 9.4 with that well that we talked about going in and out of the book. And then whatever this is definitely could be pressed and cleaned up there. So now we're probably at a 9.4, I would say, for this one, with the ability to press it up. It looks really clean otherwise. A little bit of issue right in there. We get that in the light too. Kind of like on the front cover, there's just right there, whatever that is. Little things that may or may not come out with a press. You just kind of have to give it a little bit of humidity and try it out. Also in here, really hard to tell with the color. I'm going to get in here close and see if you can see right there above Rick. Yeah, I don't know what that is. I don't know if it's a scuff or a scratch. It's borderline 9.2 now, just because of these random things on it. And if I look a little closer, there's a little bit of a color rub right there. So I'm going to give this a 9.2. Unfortunately, like I said, it kind of started off in a bad place with the spine splitting. So I'm going to have to give that one a 9.2. So not a great way to end for my first order from State of Comics, Nightwing 81. But not terrible either. I mean, I got 2 9/8 out of it. So this goes under DC, Justice League, and Punchline. So this will be my third copy. And what did I say, 9.0 or 9.2? Can't remember what grade I gave it. I said I was working backwards from 9.6. So I forgave the book on the front ding there, the well, put it as a 9.4. Some other issues, 9.2. I gotta look at it one more time. I feel like it's a 9.2 with a press. So near mint minus, acquired on June 18th from State of Comics. And I just want to pop back in and see what are the other grades that I have for this one. 9.6, 9.4. So no 9.8s for that one. Nightwing 81. I haven't looked to see how it's doing in the market anyway. I think it may have cooled off a little. 9.2. So this was actually the worst condition of the 3 that I own. Yeah, and it's come down $6.74. Again, not heartbroken over it. It's floating around almost double cover. First full in cover appearance of Heartless. I don't know where that character's gone in terms of popularity or potential at this point, but nevertheless, I'm going to add it here, save it, and then let's get back to the summary of the order. It is in Go Collect and cover price as a 9.2. So overall, again, near mint as a 9.4. You really can't ask for more than that when you're placing an order. 40% chance, 2 out of the 5. This is my first order from State of Comics. I'm going to quickly sort this ledger here so we can see where they fall. I'm going to sort the range. It has a header. And then what I like to do is say the percentage chance of getting a 9.8, and then if there's a tie, I'll sort by the average grade. So let's see where State of Comics falls. Right here in 11th place. I do realize sample size for a few of these are relatively small, but I would say right down the middle, as that average 9.4 here kind of indicates, with a 40% chance. They're based on this one order, which again, that's a given. It's one order. It's not 20 orders, but based on that one order, it appears as if State of Comics is at least average or just slightly above average in terms of the quality of the books that you're going to receive. I'm thinking of placing additional orders when the time is right and they have the books that I want from some of these additional stores that I've only placed one order with, just to see if I can get a second or third opinion on their orders. Like right now, East Side is killing it. I got 2 books from them and they both were 9.8. So it's both fair and unfair that they're second, actually tied for first with Ji Hyung Lee, the artist direct. So I'm going to probably place some more orders with some of these and look at their inventory and then come back here and update the ledger. But that's where State of Comics right here stands, just slightly above average. And that's it for this edition of unboxing and screening. I hope you enjoyed that. Hope you can kind of see how I'm tracking these books and where these different stores rank in the overall grand scheme of things. Thanks for watching. Happy collecting, and see you next time.